Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm bringing you my diary entry for the end of June. So that is June 26th through the 30th and July 1st and 2nd. Today is July 2nd. I do have neighbors having a party outside my window here. So if you can hear that, I apologize. I did close the window, so hopefully you can't hear them, but they are pretty loud. But yeah, I presume festivities will continue throughout the weekend because it is 4th of July weekend. But anyway, let's get into my reading. So I have a finished item to talk to you about. I have some books in progress, and then I have a little bit of knitting and a little bit of TV watching to talk you through. So yeah, I have only finished one thing since I talked to you last, and that was This Wonderful Season with You. This is by Atsuko published by Tokyo Pop, rated mature. So there is sexual content in this one, just so you know. This I was buddy reading with my friend Bizarre Individual. I've linked him down in the description box below. He was hosting, or was part of the hosting team for the Manga Pride Readathon, which was happening in June, and I buddy read a lot of things with him during the month. This was the last one. This story follows the romance between a computer geek or a nerd. He's part of the computer club, and a jock, which is our character here. So basically the story opens up where it's the start of the school term and everybody's recruiting for their clubs, and our character here, Inoki, is passing out flyers trying to get people to join their club, and he bumps into Shirataki, who is our jock, and his sign-up forms fly all over the place. Well, Shirataki helps him pick them up, but Inoki becomes enchanted by Shirataki. And anyway, it was just like a passing meeting. Well, come to find out that school rules have changed, and now any club with less than 4 people is immediately nixed. So the computer club ends up only having 3 people at the time that this series starts. And so they desperately need one more person. And it ends up that Shirataki kind of needs a change of pace in his life. And so he signs up for the computer club. And so the story kind of follows our 2 characters getting to know each other, and basically that's it. I mean, Shirataki does enjoy reading manga, so we see him read manga, so he is an otaku. But yeah, this story was just super sweet, and I really, really enjoyed it. I do enjoy this mangaka's art style. Now, earlier in the month, I had read Deco Sugar Days, which is another of their titles, and that volume is much smaller than this one. You can see this one's pretty thick. That one, I think, would have benefited from having as many pages as this. I think most of my disenjoyment of Deco Sugar Days was the fact that there wasn't enough pages to tell a great story. It just seemed too rushed, and there were too many things thrown in that wasn't given enough time to bloom and explore and things like that. Whereas with this title, I feel like I got that. I feel like the story was complete. Things were explained, that situations that happened in this that were similar to situations that happened in Deco Sugar Days, they were just explained better, and I think that is largely to do with the fact that this title had more pages. Now, whereas Deco Sugar Days is a story about 2 childhood friends who end up falling in love, this title is 2 characters that meet for the first time and fall in love. So the dynamics are a little bit different, but I still really enjoyed this one. It was very, very sweet. I especially enjoyed the fact that the main characters that we see, not only are 2 characters here on the cover, but the characters in the computer club and another character that we meet along the way, all of their surnames are food related. And I about cracked up when the last of the characters' names was revealed. It was just very enchanting. I enjoyed that a lot. And yeah, the art style, like I said, is sweet. If you wanted to read this title but didn't want to have the sexual content in it, you could by stopping before the last chapter. I think if you didn't read the last chapter, this story still feels complete to me. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend this title. I do kind of feel we get to know Shirataki a lot more than we do get to know Inoki. But yeah, I still feel very complete after reading this. Like I said, it was very sweet. I think that's kind of like my overall feeling on this story, was that it was very sweet. It was a very sweet story. And I would definitely recommend it. And like I said, you don't need to read the sexual content if you don't want to, because it is the last chapter. And I feel like you still get a complete story by skipping that chapter. So, yeah, definitely recommend this one. And we'll definitely be looking at Atsuko Yuen's titles in the future as well, because even though I didn't enjoy Deco Sugar Days as it was presented, I know that story still has more to offer, because there is a sequel called Deco Bittersweet Days, and I just saw that there was a short, like, novella type manga that was offered called Deco Sugar Days Extra that adds even more to the story. So, yeah, it was a great title to end the month on, and a great title to end my Buddy Reads with Bizarre on. And I really enjoyed buddy reading all of the titles that we read together during the month. I think there were 6, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I've linked him down in the description box below. Definitely go check out his vlogs, because he's vlogged throughout the month on the titles that we buddy read together, as well as other titles he's read through the month. And I really enjoyed participating in the Manga Pride Readathon again. So yeah, it was a great way to end out the month. So before I get to what I'm currently reading, there is a little matter of my TBR game to finalize. So if you watched my TBR game, you know that I'm kind of in the balance of whether or not I'm going to take a punishment this month. So the book that was the deciding factor was this one, Christopher Pike, The Last Vampire 2, Black Blood. I needed to read 100 pages of this or DNF it by the end of the month to decide whether or not I was going to put that punishment pull in play. I decided to DNF this one at the end of the month. I picked it up on the very last day of the month. So that's June 30th. I ended up reading throughout my lunch break. And typically, Christopher Pike books don't take long for me to read. But I was only able to get through 20 pages in an hour. So my lunch break is an hour long. And 20 pages in an hour is nothing for me. I was getting distracted a lot. I could not stay in the story. And what I was reading, I wasn't into. The story wasn't pulling at me. It grabbed a lot of the things that I disliked about the first book in this series and continued it here. And I didn't like that. So I tried to get myself to read a little bit more later in the day, and I just couldn't. I wasn't interested. So I have put this on my on hiatus shelf. I don't hard and fast DNF something unless I have issues with it. And for me, this doesn't have an issue, whereas I would never pick this up again. This is one of the books that's on my priority reads for this year, so I do want to get to it. it's just not calling to me right now. And if you followed me for a little bit, you know I've been in a reading slump. I'm just not having great luck enjoying a lot of the stuff that I've read. And I didn't want to force myself to read this. So for now, I have DNF'd this one. It's just not calling to me. Now, what does that mean for my punishment pick? So I did DNF it before the end of the month. That means I don't need to take the punishment pick. That doesn't necessarily mean I won't read the punishment pick. So I am going to leave that option for me open. I have pulled the book. It is on my shelf to potentially read this month. I said in my TBR game I do have interest for it. Maybe I just gotta bite the bullet and read something that I have interest for, because I kind of feel like I've been reading things because I have to read them, and that's not really helping my slump either. So I did decide to go ahead and DNF that one, but that's not to say I won't maybe pick it up later in July or later this year. But for the purposes of my TBR game, that is a DNF within the time frame, so I don't have to read my punishment prompt. It's upsetting to me, though, that I wasn't interested in that one, because I do really want to read it so that I can finish the series. It's been a series that I've been wanting to read since I was a teen, and I just never did. So, I don't know. If I had read it when I was a teen, I probably would have gotten through it, and it would be nothing right now. Like, I wouldn't be having this issue. But, yeah. So, as far as things that I'm currently in the middle of, that includes 2 of the things that I was supposed to read for my TBR game. So, The Last Fallen Star, which is the first book in the Gifted Clan series by Rick Riordan. This was for my mom's pick. I am 125 pages into that currently. It's okay. There's one big trope in there that's come up that I do not like, and that is I really need to tell my friend something that's like life-altering, but there's something a little bit more important, so I'll tell him later. This came up in that TV show Kung Fu towards the end, and I disliked that. Also, that type of trope can only end in like a bad something, whether it be disaster or her friend's not going to talk to her anymore or something. It's pretty big, this secret that she's holding, and I can only see that it's going to end badly when it finally comes out, whether it be that she ends up telling him or if somebody else ends up spilling the beans, which would be even worse than if she just came out and told him. So, yeah, I just got to that part in the book, and I'm not in the same place where I was in the beginning of this story, where I was a lot more interested in what was going on. So now I'm putting a little bit of a pause on that one. I'm 111 pages into Diary of the Damned, which is the sequel to the Haunting Hour, I believe. Haunting Season. The Haunting Season. I always get that one mixed up. I don't know why, because I loved that book. It was really, really good when I read it. This particular one is not working very well for me either. I was supposed to read it for my buy a book new and then read it prompt, and this one is told in diary entries. So basically the story starts where this girl, our main character, gets delivered the diary of her best friend, and her best friend was possessed by a demon, and so it comes with a note that basically says that the demon is going to come for her next, and so she needs to read the diary in order to figure out what happened to her friend and to be able to protect herself. Well, there are specific instructions on how to keep herself safe while she's getting all of this information, and she's already not followed those instructions, so I can only see disaster in ahead for our character here. But a lot of it is the actual diary entry, and then we get a little like commentary from our main character who's reading it. And so where we are right now, it's a lot of reflection. It's a lot of stuff that happened in the past when her and the girl who's writing this diary were friends and in high school, and they get bullied. And our main character who we're following used to be Heavy, and she gets called names, and her name starts with Heavy, or it rhymes with Heavy. So I'm not enjoying that kind of fat phobic type underlying message that we're getting, or story. I don't know if it's necessarily a message, but I'm not enjoying all of that commentary on her weight and how she got bullied because of it, and all of those scenes that we're seeing from her past, to the point where it's still affecting what she puts in her mouth to this day. I mean, we see her struggling with the fact that she is hungry, but what's available, she doesn't want to eat it because she feels like it's going to make her fat again. And we're talking like one meal. And so that's really heartbreaking. It's disturbing to me. And I am not enjoying being in that mind frame either. But I'm interested to see what's going to happen. So anyway, I had to take a break from that too, because it just got to be too much for me. But I did pass that prompt because I'm at 111 pages, so it's over 100 pages. The other book that I'm in the middle of is The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. I'm not enjoying this one as much as I thought I was going to either, and I think a large part of it is because we're dealing with mostly new characters. There's a lot of unknowns going on right now with these new characters and who their parents are. There's something mysterious going on with one of the characters we got introduced to. And yeah. I'm also listening to that one on audiobook. The narrator has changed from the Percy Jackson series, and I really, really enjoyed his narrations. This new narrator is pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far, but he's definitely not the other narrator. So, I don't know. I've got a little bit of kind of... There's a change, and I'm not enjoying it as much. I just got to get over that, because I don't think he's doing a bad job. It's just a little... I kind of associate both of the series together, because there is a part of this that deals with characters from the Percy Jackson series. But, yeah. I think I just probably jumped into this series a little too fast. I probably should have taken a break, but being that I'm the one keeping up my family from our read-through of this series, I wanted to jump in right away. So I'm kind of juggling a lot of books right now. And another thing is the fact that I'm like at a point now where I have 2 books from the previous month that I was supposed to read for my TBR game that are only partially done, that are now sitting on my currently reading, and I have to get through those, or I feel like I should get through those before I start new books for new prompts. And so that's not a great feeling either, and it's just making me not want to read. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Last night I didn't read at all. And that's kind of been something that's been happening more and more often, where I'm just not wanting to read. I ended up staying up later doing other things, where it be knitting or watching a YouTube video or something else besides reading, to the point where I get tired enough where it's like, okay, I'm tired enough to get to bed. I get in bed and I go to sleep. I don't read. And that's highly unusual for me, because I have always been the person who reads before I go to sleep. Like, that's just the thing I've always done. And so for me to not want to read before I go to sleep, there's definitely something wrong. Whether it be the books that I'm currently in the middle of and I'm not enjoying, that's one thing. Just not feeling great about reading in general is another thing. I haven't read a lot of things that are like 4 or 5 star reads recently, and that's another thing. A majority of my stuff have been like 3.5 or lower. And yeah, I kind of feel like I'm digging myself into a hole, but I don't know what to do about it. So yeah, it's still a struggle, but that's where I am with my reading so far. This month, I do have plans to read some Sharky things in light of Shark Week. And I'm participating in my friend Lee from Dark Roots Creations, her Jaws readathon. So obviously, it's 2 days into the month. I haven't read anything towards that yet. In fact, I haven't read anything yet this month. So that's not great, because I also didn't read on the 1st. So, yeah. I don't know what to do. Do you have any suggestions? Should I just pick up something new? That's what I'm thinking about doing. Just picking up something new. And trying. But I kind of don't want to do that, because I've got 6 books on my currently reading shelf. That's a lot for me. I normally don't go over 3 or 4. So yeah, there's this big urge in me to like finish something before I start something new. But at the same time, if I don't want to read what's on my to read shelf, I should pick up something new, right? I don't know. I'm thinking too much about this, and it's not helpful. So let's move on. That's where I am with my reading. As far as knitting goes, I have started another pair of socks for my daughter. I am using leftover yarn from my pair of independent socks. So that's the Cascade Heritage Prints in the color 52. This is the Independence colorway. I did check that and confirmed it. So it looks like that, just a reminder. So I did do my pair of socks from last month in that colorway, and so she would like those for her. And then for the cuffs, heels, and toes, she decided she wanted something a little bit different, because she had originally said she wanted them to look exactly like mine, and I thought, how are we going to be able to figure out which one is ours? Besides the fact that we would have to go around and count the number of stitches, because the only real difference in the socks that I knit for her and the socks I knit for myself is the stitch count. I do 56 stitches for her. I do 64 stitches for me. So, she wanted the exact same heel that I had used, heel and toe, that I had used. So, I was like, the only other way is to change the yarn I'm using for the cuffs, heels, and toes. So, I found this yarn in my stash, and I told her, hey, do you want to go really crazy? And she said, yeah. So we're doing this colorway for the cuffs, heels, and toes. It's still red, white, and blue. It's a little bit different, though. It's going to look more like that. And so this is the Regia Potpourri color 4-ply. This is 75% virgin wool and 25% polyamide. So it doesn't actually say it's superwash. That is a little concerning. But okay. So, yeah. So this is the color I'm using for the cuffs, heels, and toes. I decided to just use my 9-inch circulars again, because this is going to be just a plain sock, round and round and round. and this is all I've done so far. So I've only got the cuff. You can see that Regia yarn and how it's knit up. It's actually really nice. I wouldn't mind a pair of socks for myself in this, and I should have enough by the time it's done. And I've just started like 1 or 2 rows of the Independence colorway here. So not much done on this, but it'll move as I work on it. We are still watching, I guess we'll move into what I've been watching. We finished Hanakimi, which is the Japanese drama we were watching when I talked to you last. Really enjoyed that. That was a rewatch. We watched the 2007 version, and I think that's probably the best one. I have seen the 2007, the 2011, and the Korean drama adaptations of that manga, and I think the 2006 is still my favorite. That cast is yet to be beat for me. I did take a little bit of a skim through the first episode of the 2011 because I couldn't quite remember, and yeah, that cast is not as good. It is different, but yeah, I still like the 2006 cast. The Korean drama adaptation is good. One of the characters is the second lead syndrome. The second lead. I say second lead syndrome because I always have second lead syndrome. I don't necessarily like the main lead in the love interest, but the second lead on the Korean drama adaptation is super cute. Just with the antics that he does and things. There's one scene where he's like zipped up into a sleeping bag and like he can't unzip himself, and it's like super tight all the way up to his neck, and the only way to like move is to like squirm like a worm. So he, like, you know, that little caterpillar where it does this to like move along, and that's the only way he can like move. And so that's one of the scenes I remember from the Korean drama adaptation. Anyway, yeah, I still think that the 2006 Japanese drama adaptation is my favorite. I have yet to read the manga of that. I do own it though, so that's good. I do have it available to me. But yeah, really enjoyed Hanakimi. We jumped into An Incurable Case of Love. This is one that I have wanted to watch for a little bit. I did read the manga last year, I think. Didn't enjoy it very much, but the mangaka on that one also wrote Happy Marriage, and I didn't enjoy the manga of Happy Marriage as much as I enjoyed the drama adaptation either. So I thought that I'd probably enjoy the drama adaptation of An Incurable Case of Love more than I enjoyed the manga, and so far I am correct. It is different. There are things that they left out of the manga in the adaptation, and there are new things that they added to fill up that space in the drama. And I am enjoying the drama so much more than I enjoyed the manga. So, yeah, I am enjoying it. I think we have got like 4 episodes or so left. Not quite sure what's in the plans to watch next. I kind of asked my daughter, and she doesn't really have any say or anything she has real strong feelings for yet, but maybe she will once we finish An Incurable Case of Love, which is totally not down her alley, just so you know. But I'm kind of making her watch it with me, but that's okay. She just kind of sits on the couch and plays her video games while the thing is going on. But I'm really enjoying it, and so is my mom. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got for today. It's pretty late. It's about 7:30. Like I said, my neighbors started partying really early today. I presume they're going to party all the way through the weekend. Fireworks have already started going off when the sun was still high in the air, so it's only going to get worse once the sun goes down. It's on its way. But yeah, that's all I've got for you this week. Let me know down in the comments below what you've read this week, if you ended June on a high note. If you've got a TBR game, let me know that down in the comments below as well. I love watching TBR games this time of the month. And if nothing else, and you would just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a baseball emoji down in the comments below. The character from This Wonderful Season with You played baseball, and so that's where I'm getting that one from. But if you could leave me a baseball emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye!